Hi, my name is Dr. Jen Anneker, and I want to welcome you into my kitchen today. Today we are talking on one of our 3 platforms, which is really a wellness tip and a little insight into some of the things that I do for my own health care. Our 3rd platform, of course, as a chiropractor, is always to add chiropractic questions. So what are we up to today? Today we're going to make bone broth. Now there's 3 different ways that you can make bone broth. You could make it over the stove top. You can make it in an Instapot. Those are the 2 that we're going to cover today. The 3rd one is a crock pot. Even though I'm not going to cover it, it's certainly easy to Google and find that, Pinterest, etc. But today we're going to give you the recipe for the bone broth. And just to pause a moment and say, why bone broth? Bone broth is just such a great thing that we've been doing in our cultures for years to utilize, the entire animal, I'll say, as we were gatherers and hunters. And the bone broth has a lot of great nutrients in it. It has calcium and magnesium. It has potassium and sulfur and silicon. Just a really great nutrient-dense food to eat. You could eat it plain, you could put it in soups and stews, and it's the health benefit. We always need to remember that food is health, and that is what heals our body. Those are the things that we need to have in order to repair and to grow. And so some of the examples of how it helps out is for joint health, for skin, for gut health is one of the biggest things that I talk about with my patients, especially if they've been on a lot of antibiotics, have a lot of gut flora issues, that it can really help to seal up what's called a leaky gut, which means basically that your intestinal tract has been compromised. And so the second brain is the gut flora, so of course also it helps with brain health. And just like, Grandma, when she made homemade chicken soup, for example, she would use the broth, that it also increases your immune system. So now let's dive into the recipe. So today, first off, to talk a little bit about the bones themselves. How do I get the bones? Where do I get the bones? What do I use? You can use chicken or beef bones. Chicken bones, if you have like a fryer chicken that you maybe have used in a crock pot, what I do is I just save those bones, put them in the freezer, and then I'll pull them out when I'm ready to use those. I've acquired turkey bones, prime rib bones, lamb bones, anything I had. Again, once it's done eating, rinse it off, put it in the freezer. And then beef bones, a couple of different ones are beef marrow bones, which these I get from down at the market here in Boise, and Malhauer River Meats is one of the vendors that carries beef bones. And you can find them locally here. I think maybe Whole Foods has them. The Boise Co-op usually has them. And these are great bones. Also, knuckle bones. And certainly if you butcher, venison or beef, you could ask the butcher for the bones if you're not butchering yourself. But these are the knuckle bones. The other great thing about the bones is that you can utilize them twice. So once you're done through the process and you've drained it out, rinse them off, and you can put them back in the freezer. So it's a great way to have it a couple of rounds. So now let's dive into what's in the bone broth. So first off, you have 4 quarts of water that I've just put in the stock pot here, and I just use, I'm a big canner, so I always have these glass jars. 1 quart is 4 cups, so you're looking for 4 of those to put into the stock pot. And then go ahead and put in the bones. So we'll go ahead and do that now. And these are, like I said, I just took these out and unthawed them. They're the chicken bones from, what I had for supper a few nights ago. And you can do just chicken or just beef. I always do a combination now. Again, you can just use whatever you have. I don't do this, but I've also heard a little tip that you can brown the bones and that'll get a richer, deeper, richer flavored beef, chicken broth or beef broth as well. And then what you want to add, you want to take 2 to 3 celery stalks and 2 to 3 carrots, and go ahead and put those into the pot. 1 onion, and cut that up. I also like to add garlic and seasonings. Sometimes you'll read that on traditional recipes, other times you won't. But again, food heals your body, so garlic, anytime I can put garlic into a recipe, if it calls for 2 cloves, I honestly put 4 cloves, if not more, because it's antiviral, bacterial, and microbial. So in the winter months, you know, as well as in the summer months, but what a great way again to increase your immune system. And then I just happen to have thyme. So I just look at whatever herbs I might have in the fridge and I put those in there. That one again happens to be thyme. And then I also might add maybe oregano or basil or Italian seasoning. So those types of herbs that you can add to the mixture as well. The other key ingredient is to add in 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, and that helps to pull the nutrients out of it. Now, when we're talking about the kitchen stock pot, then what we'll do, it does talk about, like Weston Price, Sally Fallon's cookbook, talks about leaving the bones in there for 30 minutes. But basically, once you've done that, then you're going to bring it to a boil, and then once it's to a boil, then you bring it to a simmer. And you put that anywhere from 6 hours to 24 hours, just depending again on how rich you want your bone broth. And of course, so 24 hours, it's going to be on simmer overnight, so just be aware of that. So that's how you make it in the stock pot. And then adding on at the last 10 minutes, you also put the parsley into the stock pot as well at the very end. Handful of parsley, and that helps again to pull the nutrients from the bones. So that is how you do it in the stock pot or over the stove top. Now the next one is the Instapot. So we're taking basically that same recipe that we just laid out, and we're putting it into the Instapot. One change might be if you've owned an Instapot, in the pot itself, there's a line that says max water. So maybe you're changing that up a little bit. And then on your Instapot, which truth be told, I have for years done it this way, but anymore I'm using my Instapot because it really just pulls like a deep, rich flavor. And it's 120 minutes on manual. Turn it on. You know, the Instapot, just put the lid on. So again, manual at 120 minutes. Off you go, and then at the end when it's done, you've got your chicken broth and your beef broth. So it's a fantastic way, a little easier to use the Instapot. And then of course the third way, like I said, is the crock pot. You'll have to dive in a little bit more into that. But from my understanding, it's on low for 10, 24-ish hours. And so, you know, look that one up. But hopefully you guys have found this video helpful. I know I get a lot of questions. I make this as a common recommendation when people are having gut issues, low energy, immune system issues. And this is a great way, once you've got the bone broth, strain it out. You know, for some people I'm recommending just drink maybe a cup, you know, half a cup a day, morning and night, you know, a lot of times, you know, or with kiddios, making it into a soup already. But then once I'm done, I cool it down and then I'll put it in the freezer. That way I can pull it out, you know, if I'm making a soup or my immune system's challenged, start drinking it. So I hope you found this helpful. Again, I know I get tons of questions about how to make bone broth. And we just hope from our kitchen to yours that you enjoyed this video. Please write any comments. We'll, of course, write some suggestion and recipes down below. And we appreciate you as viewers. And again, welcome to my kitchen.